Hey guys, Midget here and welcome to another episode of my Walking Dead Very Reviews. Today it's episode 15 of season 4 and it's called Us or US, depends how you want to say it. And this episode was, solid episode. I quite enjoyed it. It starts off with Abraham and Tara, talking about the past, how what they did before and stuff like that, basically. And Abraham was insisting on Tara getting to sleep, but she didn't want to. I don't know why. But then it goes on to Daryl's group, which they wake up by a zombie, going up to those like cans, and it alerts them. And their group is not a badass group, but it's a very solid group. They could survive because they play around with the zombies instead of proper being scared. They proper have a joke with the zombies, that sort of stuff. And Daryl isn't there, but they know he's not left because he's left all his stuff behind, and he's gone hunting a rabbit. And finally, he almost gets the rabbit, but then that douchebag, I forgot his name, but I'm just going to call him douchebag. He says he shoots him first, and he claims it, apparently, the claim thing. And Trash talks about Beth, that, douchebag guy, and Daryl almost kills him, but Joe splits them up. Joe is the leader, the one we saw Rick, run. He was on the balcony and Rick was, under him, basically. So we see him, he splits them up, and he talks on the groups. He talks on the rules, basically, of, what's happening, and he splits the rabbit in half, which I thought was kind of unfair, because Daryl was, we are kind of biased towards Daryl. I thought it was his, but you don't know who shot it first, but I think Daryl should have it, because, in all fairness, he was the one that started hunting it, so that's why, I think it's unfair, but Joe splits them up and chops the rabbit in half, and says you can have one half, you can have the other. And Rick is getting back to his best, because it's every single group. This episode's all about every single group. It's not about like one group in particular. And he's getting back to his best, Rick, and he talks on where he's going and everything. And he turns around to Michonne and Carl, completely not listening, just being childish, walking on the train tracks, having a bet over a chocolate bar, and it ends up being like Michonne tries to scare Carl or something, and she falls off, and she gives the chocolate bar to Carl. And it's kind of cool because you enjoy having a bit of humour in the zombie apocalypse. You need a bit of childish humour in a way in the zombie apocalypse. It's just good, isn't it? It's just nice and pleasant to see, in my opinion. But so Carl wins the bet, and like I said, he gets the chocolate bar. Joe finds a place to stay while talking to Daryl, and everyone claims everything, and Daryl's still not into the thing, the claiming thing. He just sits down and goes to bed, basically. And this is where the first advert is, I think. And after the advert, he wakes up or something, and that douchebag is accusing him of stealing half the rabbit. And Joe's like looking like he's on the douchebag side for a bit, then punches him after he opens Daryl's bag and the other half is there. And the douchebag was a really bad actor. I knew Daryl didn't steal it. And Daryl asks how Joe knew, and I saw him do it. Then and Daryl sort of flipped out. He said, "Why didn't you do anything to him then?" And I want to have some fun with him, basically. So it's kind of a bad way to have fun in a way, but it's decent. You deserved what you got, and you find out what you got before. And I just want to say this episode's going really slow. I mean, really quick. I'm already 4 minutes in. I've done half the things that happened. It was a really weird episode, in my opinion. But so it's just once Daryl wakes up the next day when they're leaving, he sees the douchebag on the floor. And he's like proper beaten up with blood on the floor, and he's got an arrow through his head, which I think was totally deserved. Daryl almost gave him an honourable death when he, put that blanket over him, but then he remembered what a douchebag he was, so he decided not to, put the blanket over him and go. But Abraham wants to stay, wants to stop, but then Glenn says like he'll make a deal, and the deal was that he'll give Eugene the armour if they carry on walking, because by this time Glenn saw a sign of Maggie's where Glenn go to the Terminus Maggie. He saw that, and Tara sprained her ankle because of a bloody walker that fell from, and someone pushed her, so she sprained her ankle or something. And they decided to carry on walking because everyone carries on walking, and they get to a tunnel, and Glenn, is desperate to get in there, Rosita calls him a jerk because, he doesn't care about anyone else but him, but himself, basically, and Tara will do anything for him, and then, Eugene, basically, Abraham says they have to split up there because they're not going in there, they need to get Eugene to the DC, so Eugene starts, saying, something along the lines of he's starting to like Tara, and then she's like, I'm into girls, and, he's like, I know, but it was kind of funny because then Rosita gave them the hug, and she was like proper, it was just kind of funny, but, so they go off, and, Glenn and, Tara go into the, into the tunnel, and finally they get to the end, and there's this, massive debris, yeah, I think that's how it's pronounced, yeah, and the walkers scattered in there, and they, manage to climb over it, after Glenn kills all the walkers that are in the debris, and then he stands up on a wall of the debris, basically, and there's loads of walkers on the other side, and he gets them to one side, he does that to one side, they try and go to the other, and the most obvious thing happens, Tara slips and gets a foot stuck, I mean, come on, I just don't like stuff like that, come on. It's so obvious that something like that's going to happen. As soon as they're climbing down something, in The Walking Dead, just any episode, any season, as soon as they're walking down something and there's walkers nearby, you know that something bad's going to happen, and they're probably going to, sink into the mud and get eaten or something. But, Abraham goes to sleep, and, Eugene he's the navigator, and Rosita, he tells Rosita to stop at this place, and then he says, if Glenn and Tara made it out of that tunnel at 5 miles per hour or something, they'll be around here. And, she's like, are you crazy, because we're meant to get you to the DC, we can't really bother about them in a way. And, Abraham wakes up and says, he has a go at Rosita, basically. And then everyone, looks to one way and just, opens the mouth. And then that's the second break. And in the last break, as soon as it comes back, you would see that, Carl comes into the tunnel, shoots all the walkers down, but there isn't, I knew it was Abraham, Rosita, and Eugene, but I didn't know who that last one was, because there was some other people. I was like, who the hell's shooting? And then out of nowhere, you just see Maggie reunite with Glenn. It's a really amazing feeling, because, I just couldn't wait. In my opinion, that was one of the most, I personally wanted to see them reunite the most out of every other single group, like Daryl and Rick, basically. I think they could stay apart, it wouldn't really matter. But them two, I really wanted to see them, so it was kind of, cool. But then they say, basically, they stay there at the night, they shut off the tunnel, and, everyone stays there at the night, and Sasha, basically Abraham talks to Sasha and Bob, and they say they will go to Washington with them, but they just want to see that, how the Terminus is, because they're one day away from it, and they want to just see what it's like, because maybe their siblings are there, so obviously Sasha means Tyrese and something, and Tyrese is obviously heading there, so so they're on about that, and Bob says he'll go too, and then Maggie, she's right next to Glenn, and Glenn pulls out a picture of her or something along those lines, and she's like, burn it, and Glenn's kind of, he doesn't want to, but he does in the end, and that's because, she says you won't need it anymore. And then the next day they set off to the Terminus and finally get there, basically, and, they go in, and, it's kind of a really peaceful place, you just got some crops growing along, and then there's no one on the streets, there's just a woman cooking something, and she turns around and goes, hey, I'm Mary, or something, and welcome to Terminus. I think you've been on a journey for a long time, or something along those lines, and that's basically where Glenn's story ends, and Daryl ends up talking to Joe for the final bit of the thingy. This is before the Glenn story. The Glenn story is our final thing, but I want to get one story finished and move on to the next one. So Daryl, this is before the Terminus bit, Daryl's talking to Joe about, some man that broke into their house and killed one of their men, and we all know it's Rick, so it's a bit of a dramatic irony. We know more than the person being Daryl, and, he's kind of oblivious to the fact they're talking about Rick, but they walk past the train track and you just see the wrapper that Carl dropped, and I was like, okay, they're gaining time on the mission, so what happens when Daryl and Rick reunite? Well, Daryl betray his new friends, because they seem like a good group, you know. If you obey the rules, basically, there's nothing to be scared of, you know. So I was kind of wondering about that. But that's basically it, guys. So I don't know what it was about this episode. I guess it was the suspense or something, but I really didn't know why I liked this episode, because there wasn't too much action. I guess it was the suspense and all the, like, you know, cross paths and everything, and that's why I'm going to give this episode an 8 out of 10. And yeah, so basically now let's get on to the questions. So yeah, do you trust the woman? I don't, because in the game, in the Walking Dead game, and I could put up let's just say I could put up a picture right there. I don't know if I will, just right there. I'm going to put up a picture of the farm from the game there, somewhere around there, and basically it's the cannibal's name from the game. There was a woman, had 2 children, and they were all cannibals, and they lived on a farm, and her name was Mary. And then you go to Terminus, there's a woman cooking something in the zombie apocalypse, and her name's Mary, and she kind of like resembled her in a way, except the game one was a bit chubbier. But you know, it could just be a cannibalistic place, you know, Terminus, I don't know. But when Joe meets Rick's group, gaining time on them, how will Daryl react? He's settling in, yeah, like you said, he's settling in, because, you know, he is settling in. He claimed his first thing being a strawberry, you know. This is, again, going back, he claimed his first thing, so he's obviously settling into the group, and, you know, he might not forget about Rick, but, you know, he might turn away from Rick in a way, so I don't know what will happen there. But last question of the episode is, when will everyone reunite? And I'm not sure, I presume, I think it will be, you know, so many groups have reunited already. I think it will be around the mid-season finale. And also, I just want to give you a spoiler alert that Gareth is coming in. For all of you that read the comics, I didn't, but I just know because I just looked at someone's video. And Gareth is returning, or not returning. Gareth is coming in the next episode, so be in the finale of season 4. He's gonna come in that episode, so, you know, all your comic book lovers will absolutely enjoy that. But yeah, so 8 out of 10, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like. And yeah, so this is Midget, and we'll see you guys next time.